a very rare condition called pulmonary hypertension, and I was diagnosed about 2 years ago when I was 18. But the journey to diagnosis is a story in itself. When I was 16, I was first showing symptoms. I was an incredibly fit, active, normal child, but I started feeling incredibly breathless and tired, and there really wasn't very much explanation for it. But by the time it got to the point where we actually considered seeing a doctor about it and had any sort of severity at all, I was about 17. The problem was that it was incredibly hard to pinpoint what was wrong or that there was anything wrong. So originally I was told that it was psychosomatic, which is a bit of a freak out because I was told that by numerous experts, and being convinced that you're messed up enough to make yourself sick when you're feeling physical symptoms is very difficult. What basically happens is that, unlike asthma, which is involved in blockages in the air passages of your lungs, PH occurs when your blood vessels in your lungs are constricted. So you have a bit of a traffic jam, basically, which means two things. Firstly, that your gaseous exchange can't take place. Your oxygen comes in perfectly, air comes in nicely, but the body can't absorb it. And secondly, that your heart struggles to pump the blood into your lungs because obviously of the high pressure, and that puts strain on the right heart. So it's a very rare condition and is very often confused with different things. For example, many people hear the word hypertension, they think high blood pressure, not so much of a big deal, systemic, etc. But once diagnosed, there's some very specific ways to go about treating it. Unfortunately, I think one of those ways is available in South Africa. One of the medications I needed was available. So it was originally a shock to discover what was wrong with me and the severity of the condition, and to be told that it is degenerative and incredibly serious and can be life-threatening. But the second shock, which is one that I think patients in other parts of the world don't experience, was realizing that really nothing I needed was available to me and to be able to help me with my condition. So, wow, it took a couple months, but we basically ended up fighting the system. So we started me on Revatio, one of the first drugs in South Africa, and then we started asking questions of our doctors and saying, well, what can I have next? What can help? What's important? And the resounding sort of feeling that we got from everyone was, look, don't even bother asking. Don't bother trying. This is impossible. Ideally, if we had it, I would put you on Bizantan and Flolan, but that's not here. You're never going to get it. So just go home and, try not to think about it too much, which my parents didn't accept. I'm incredibly lucky to have an incredibly stubborn family who I love dearly, but I think that one of the most important things we did was actually question the doctors. And the thing is that I think many people don't do that. And doctors are incredible, talented people. My doctors are wonderful, generous, compassionate, very skilled, but they're also not perfect. And as a part of treatment, the responsibility does actually rest with the patient and the patient's family. And that's a reality that I don't think many people grasp. So first things first, we did a hell of a lot of research, and we realized what I was missing, what I needed, and then we started trying to get it. And this took months, years in some cases. My parents had to petition the Medical Control Council. They had to find importing pharmacists. Everything was full of red tape. There was really an obstacle at every turn in the road. There was some other minor arbitrary reason that stopped us from getting these life-preserving drugs. The problem is also that once you start many drugs, and this is not for my condition, this is in general, there are very powerful drugs that come with very powerful diseases are not the kind that you can kind of just stop and start. You wean on them and then you wean off them, and for some of them you're not ever meant to go off them once you go on them. So one such drug that I'm on is called Bazentan. So what I soon realized is that a lot of the problems I face are not relative just to pH, but that my cause can grow to, and has grown to, include many other South African diseases and rare diseases in South Africa. So I'm pH ambassador for the Rare Diseases Association of South Africa. I'm also closely linked, obviously, with pH South Africa. But it really came to the fore how much of an issue this is and how under-recognized so many diseases are in the country, and also how difficult it is to bring treatment in and to get that funded. So our trust, which originally started predominantly as a fundraising campaign, became so much more focused on awareness. Me and my sister produced a song which I wrote and which she sings, and it's called I Need More Time, which is obviously alluding to the whole mortality aspect of what I'm going through, which is one of the most difficult. But what that song did is it managed to kickstart our campaign, and we got a lot of traction on radio with interviews and with that song in general, and amazing things started happening, and we started realizing the power of community and the power of surrounding someone with positivity and with sort of can-do attitudes. The wonderful thing about having a positive mindset, I guess, is that it's catching. So the moment you stop taking no for an answer, it provokes other people to do the same. And one of the most gratifying things for me is that our campaign started doing that. And one of the best things I think that has ever happened to me is knowing that people got diagnosed as a direct result of the campaign. The thing with pH is that the earlier you're diagnosed, the less you deteriorate. The less you deteriorate, the easier it is for you to remain stable and to get better. So whereas I was diagnosed at quite a severe stage of the illness and had to attempt to claw my way back up, others who are diagnosed while the illness is still fairly mild have years and years added to their lifespan. So to have that knowledge that I helped someone do that is really, really rewarding. But I couldn't have done it without my family and without my friends and without everyone around me. At first it was very difficult to bear so much of one's life and challenges to everyone, but I discovered the immense power in being honest and asking for help and connecting with other people who are going through similar things. One of the most important developments, though, was us being able to import a drug called Flonan. I'm currently the only person in Africa on this drug, and it is one of the most effective and basically life-saving, if that's even a phrase, drugs available for pH. So it can completely revolutionize how you live and your chances at living longer. And it is available in Europe, Australia, the Americas, pretty much everywhere, certainly every first world country, and not in South Africa, probably because there's a small market for it. So that was a hectic reality to face, is that it's R1 million a year, and we thought there's no way that that's ever going to happen, that I'm ever going to have access to it. And it seemed like we'd finally come to a dead end. And my mum started reaching out to international doctors. The amazing thing was we figured out that our campaign had already reached so far that when we connected with Dr. Ann Kiao in Sydney and asked her to help, her response was, "Are you kidding me? I go to bed with the words of your song going around in my brain. You've changed the lives of Australian pH patients. I would love to." So her and Dr. David Badish from the US started giving us advice from their own countries, and eventually Dr. Badish agreed to come out to South Africa to see me. He is a pH expert. He deals only with pH on a daily basis, and he is incredibly sought after and incredibly talented, and he was so kind to us. And what his arrival here did was allow him to diagnose me definitively, decide that I definitely needed Flowland, and to assist me going onto it, because in the meantime my mother had managed to secure compassionate the Flowland for me on a compassionate basis, which is incredible. So they came out, they put me on the drug. We managed to get other pH patients in South Africa to connect with them, and they helped with that kind of treatment. So that was a miracle. And this is my Flowland. I'm on it all day, every day. And it has a little cassette at the bottom which has to be mixed fresh every morning. The process takes about an hour. It's a sterile process. If a germ gets in, you start again. If you drop something, you start again. If you prick yourself, which has happened, it was quite embarrassing, you start again. It's very intense, and it's very high risk. There's no room for human error, because if anything goes wrong with this drug, or if I go off this drug for more than 3 minutes without being melodramatic, I kind of die. So I'm sure you can imagine why it's super important that we have a chain that doesn't ever get broken from overseas, and the fact that we can't ever get this wrong. We've created a room in our house which I affectionately dub the drug den, because it is a sterile nursing room, and my parents spend an hour of their day every day with the assistance of our new lovely nurse Lizzie mixing this drug and then hooking me up to it on my little tube. So that obviously makes life a bit different. Originally when I put it on, I started walking away without it quite frequently, and then it tugs, which is painful. But I think it was really important to us to have the support of those from overseas. The unfortunate thing is that I think I was diagnosed too late. So despite the Flowland and despite our efforts, I have been deteriorating. And my most recent checkup, I was told that I'm going to have to be listed for a bilateral lung transplant. Transplants in South Africa are the whole other issue, because of the fact that we need more donors and more awareness there too. So that might be the next challenge. But it's obviously disheartening to know that all our incredible hard work has really not helped me. But on the other hand, the fact that it's helped and is going to help so many other people almost makes it worth it, I guess. Obviously it's been a big change adjusting to this diagnosis, and at the moment I spend about 80% of my day in bed. I don't have energy to do anything. I get up and go to the bathroom, and then I have to catch my breath for about 20 minutes. At the beginning of my diagnosis, even when I was at my best, washing my hair meant taking a half-hour lie down after a shower. I have a scooter to get around. I wear this oxygen constantly. All comes with its own challenges, particularly being a teenage girl with a tube on her face. Interesting to see how people respond to that. But I didn't want to let go of my normal life, so I continued with school and university. Unfortunately, I'm at the point where I'm going to have to give that up and take a leave of absence. But logistics were a big challenge, and day-to-day issues like that. So it's quite serious and it's quite hectic. But I have also learnt very much. And I think what was super important to me is knowing that I didn't want to ever let go of my goals and let go of the things that I define myself by and the things that make me who I feel I am. And one of the hardest things for me to accept was that even though I don't achieve as much, or I can't achieve as much in any given day, or I can't be as productive, I need to realize that I'm still worthy and I'm still the same person. I'm still capable of the same things. So that's really what I wanted to tell anyone who's ever experienced anything like this, is that you being who you are and feeling how you feel makes you important no matter what your life circumstances are and no matter what happens to you and those around you.